Yep, okay, it's fine with me too.
Okay, so we're going to
take... And I
take...
actually have some alternative language to break the two apart in this event. So the first motion is, therefore be it resolved that the Council of Charlottesville, the City of Charlottesville, shall remove the statue of Robert E. Lee from the park currently known as Lee Park, and be it further resolved that we hereby direct staff to bring Council a range of recommended options for moving forward with decisions on destination and design within 60 days for our consideration. And I'll make the second motion after those sections.
Okay, so second motion now, pursuant to this friendly amendment, to rename the park will happen separately with a separate vote. So now we're likely to have another motion later on in the debate and the discussion as well. Okay. All right. Everyone cool? Okay. All right. Probably made and seconded, and then that is as amended. So now we're debating the motion as amended. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
So
you need a second on your new motion. Is that correct?
Mr. Brown? Okay. Mr. Bellamy, will you second the amended motion?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we good? Parliamentarily now? All right, so now we're ready for comments on the motion. By anyone who chooses to speak.
Anybody down?
Well, before I start my prepared remarks, I would like to thank the members of the Blue Ribbon Commission. A number of them are in this room, and I think the rest of them are out in the hallway. We do appreciate your volunteer work, 9 people who volunteered for this. And we have already started work on the other recommendations, and we will continue that as well. So tonight we vote on moving the statue of Robert E. Lee from Lee Park. For some it will be a confusing night, a night when a vote is taken seemingly contrary to historical scholarship for some academics and professional historical preservationists. For others, it will be a night fraught with unknown but not unimagined consequences to hear them wail and bluster. A night, they say, they and their country will never recover from. Well, they sell the rest of us short because it will also be a night of celebration, of a governmental action of the people, by the people, and for the people. An act of acknowledgement not of the majority, but a strong, patient minority. Tens of thousands of our neighbors in our community, the largest group by far of immigrants in the state of Virginia and the surrounding counties with African American roots and their friends, who stand by them in their march to the sometimes elusive goal of equality. And everyone should recognize there are many difficult steps ahead. So I would like to take this opportunity to put this action in perspective. First, for those listening or watching who say this will be the end of our country as we know it. Our neighbors and friends who want this statue moved are United States citizens who have built our cities, paid taxes, fought in our wars, served on our juries. They are us, and we are Americans, all of us. Second, for those of you enjoying the dark recesses of the internet, we are not voting to destroy the statue or to bury it. So stop with the ISIS comparisons. They make you look foolish and taint the important argument of those who say leave it where it is because it has historical and educational value. Third, Robert E. Lee knew exactly what he was fighting for. It was his free choice to take command. He lobbied for it, he got it. In today's vernacular, own it. There is a large body of thought that all wars are economic. He was the general of the Confederate Army, and the mission of that federal armed force was to preserve the economic lifeblood of the Confederacy, literally. And that was the enslavement of human beings. Decades after England and France had both banned slavery, the army of which Robert E. Lee was commander was fighting to preserve it. Would you have us believe that an educated man who rose to be superintendent of West Point had no knowledge of these historic and, for him, contemporaneous events? We hear over and over the war was fought for states' rights, but there's more to that phrase. It was fought for states' rights to enslave people. To believe otherwise is delusional.
Hey, all right, sir, you've been called to order. If you speak out again and disrupt the order, you're going to have to be escorted out. Same deal here. Mr. Burris, we need to be able to move forward. We all got a lot to say. Okay?
Fourth, I've heard, if we give in to them on this, there's no telling where it will lead. Well, that's possible. If we are not careful, it may lead to restoring the vote for ex-felons who have paid their penalty to society, but can't yet vote. As if they are expected to wear a scarlet letter and be relegated to second-class status for the rest of their lives. Do not join the political process of our country and have to fight for economic justice till the day they die. If we're not careful, it may lead to providing public money not for prisons and jails, which for some jurisdictions is a major economic development project, but to diversion and mentoring programs, so young men and women have an alternative to prisons, or it could lead to adequately funding community centers, not as an afterthought, as a primary goal of budgeting and neighborhood protection. And then there are those who say this is only being advocated for by a few malcontents. So the First Amendment only applies if you have over, what, 7 citizens? 16 citizens? What is your number? What exactly would your threshold be to exercise your rights under the Constitution? To those people, I would say you haven't been paying attention. The Blue Ribbon Commission, over almost an 8-month period, turned the conversation in our community from one of non-interest to a continuing process of acknowledgement that the way this statute is viewed by one group is not the way all groups view it. And that in our country, the government is one of people, not objects.
Look, we've reached our time, but
Yeah,
we can extend.
There is not just one way, our way, to honor history, particularly at the expense of many of our neighbors. There is not just one way to make a park vibrant and a center of community life. I've learned a lot about freedom of speech, or lack thereof, during the last few months, and the price some pay to exercise a basic right of free speech and to petition the government for redress of a grievance without fear of intimidation or repercussions. I have in front of me a copy of just one of scores of racist comments sent to the young man on my left in an attempt to intimidate and destroy. I was going to read it, but we have children and families watching.
No, you don't. There ain't no
These
kid
are so
paying
bereft
attention.
of rational thinking and coherent focus that there can only be one driving force behind them, and that is racism. And for those of you who think death threats will keep me from doing my duty as I see it, you must not know my background. I have been through much worse. Our city has worked hard to ensure race is not the pivot point around which community decisions are made. Whether it's municipal funding, legal justice, economic justice. I know the citizens, my friends and neighbors, too well, and we will continue our efforts to ensure that the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal," are not mere words uttered when it is to our political advantage, but are a way of life. These words, and Abraham Lincoln's words I mentioned earlier, uttered at Gettysburg, are already in our DNA, so deeply ingrained that the mere hint of unfairness gets everybody riled up. It is our challenge to make sure we don't get riled up at each other, and to instead focus on those things around us that prompt this reaction. I am well aware that there has been a lawsuit threatened, I would welcome one. For the sake of our city and our state, this matter should be litigated by the courts without delay. We are not the first city to address public monuments from our distant past. Already Alexandria, Danville, Richmond, Lynchburg, and others have struggled with a law that is still not settled. Particularly in these days, we should all strive to find the community equity guaranteed in the Constitution, protected in the Bill of Rights, and enforced in our local laws that we all preach. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Who's next? Okay, I can